time to shake the dust off and begin.
Hey everybody, welcome to Shift Your Story. It's your host, Lucy Price. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. My goodness, I feel like it's just been years since we've last chatted. I was at a conference last week and so much has happened. My life has been on my personal life in the background. There's just been a lot of things happening these past couple of weeks, and I went to a conference last week, which was my first in-person conference since COVID, since I started my business even, and my brain has just been cracked open. My brain is buzzing. There's no other way to say it. My brain is just trying to settle all of the information down and really integrate it because there was gold there. And that gold is something that I cannot wait to pass on to my clients. It is there's so much that I cannot wait to teach and share with the people who are working with me and with you who is listening here. And I'm going to be sharing some of that wisdom for you here today. Just so many stories of people who transformed their lives and have shown me how much is actually possible in life. And within those stories and within those experiences, there was an undercurrent in those stories of how many people have also had the sacrifice of their relationships, their health, their mental health along the way to achieving that success, to achieving everything they dreamed of achieving when it comes to their business, to their career, to their finances. They sacrificed along the way. And oftentimes without realizing it, oftentimes without knowing it until it was nearly too late, until nearly they were facing divorce. They were looking at losing the person who was supposed to be their person for life. They achieved such a massive level of success, but in the background, you would never know that their marriage was on the brink of divorce, that their kids weren't talking to them, that they didn't have anybody to call on a bad day, that they had a heart attack and that was their first vacation from work in 5 years, that some of them dreamed of getting into minor accidents just so that they could have a break. Like, you learn something by hearing those stories and by hearing those people share how they've overcome it and what they did differently to get off of that path and get onto the path of, yes, success in career, but also success in love, also success in health, also a holistic sense of success and abundance. And I distilled it down to what I think were 5 main things that made the difference for those people and helped them get off of the path to burnout and being alone at the top of the mountain to being on the path of abundance and community cheering you on all along the way and having people to share that mountain view with. So we are going to start off with the very first thing. When I heard these speakers, when I heard these leaders giving presentations and sessions and workshops, there was a very solid theme that things started to change when they were surrounded by community and when they got support for these areas of their life, where they recognized, okay, something's got to change. Something has to look different because I have this business, but I feel like everything else in my life is crumbling. And I need people around me. I need people to support me. I need people who get it. I desire people who can hold me, who can cheer me on, who can be there during the celebrations, but also be there in the places, in the moments where I just want to hide and not share anything, just not even show my face. I need that community. I desire that community. I want that community. And then they were willing to work for that community. They were willing to get the support to rebuild the marriage, get the support to regain their mental health. They got community, they got support. So many of these leaders shared that once they got that community, once they hired the therapist, hired the marriage counselor, hired the life coach, hired the nutrition coach, hired the people, or just sought out the mentor, sought out the community that could support them, they couldn't have imagined going through those hard experiences any other way. There was so much wisdom in the community, in the mentor, in the therapist, in the coach. There's so much I got you in that everything was uplifted. Not only did their marriages get better, not only did their family life get better, not only did they feel better, but also the business improved. These sources of support and mentorship helped them turn their personal lives around while maintaining and growing the success that they had in their careers. And so the very first thing I realized that if you are on the path, if you are driven, if you are really career oriented or money focused, you also have to surround yourself with community. Community is everything. You have to get support for these other areas of your life as well, because otherwise you're being lopsided. It's like working out your right bicep and not focusing on your left bicep and your legs. You're off kilter. Your life just becomes lopsided when you don't get the support, when you don't focus, when you don't balance out the other areas of your life, and they suffer for it. So one of the things they all highlighted on their journeys was getting support, getting marriage counseling, getting a personal therapist, getting a personal coach to show them their own blind spots, to help them prioritize their relationships, prioritize themselves in an entirely different way. Because when you're the CEO of a company, there are so many people vying for your attention. There's the board, there's the employees under you, there's the people you're doing business with, and all of them want a slice of your time. And guess what? So does your wife, so does your husband, so do your children. And so by getting that community support, by getting that mentor, they started to prioritize the people in their personal lives that inherently fell to the back burner when business became the primary focus. So that's the very first thing here. If you are driven in your career, also make sure you have that community, you have that mentor to redirect your focus, to help you learn the tools and the skills to keep your relationships, to keep your health nourished and flourishing so that you can enjoy your life holistically. The second thing they talked about when they were turning their relationships around, when they were making sure their personal lives had the level of abundance that they saw in their business, was that connection time wasn't a luxury, it was a must. When these leaders spoke about their marriages before they turned things around, they noticed how much they felt like their spouse was a roommate as opposed to their husband or their wife. They noted how much that even when they were together, they were fighting. They were organizing. They were looking after the kids. They were looking after the house. They weren't actually connecting with each other. They were just working together in a different way. They were often passing ships in the night. You know, their spouse often was also someone who was working, was also someone who was career driven. And so their focuses was anywhere but with each other. And so when they got to the level of success 10, 15, 20 years into the business, and they noticed, like, I don't even know my partner anymore. Like, who is this person I'm sleeping next to? They started to prioritize each other again. They started to prioritize connection again. Not just connection of I'm sitting here with you and eating dinner, but actually my mind is back at the office, or actually my mind is on this problem that I'm trying to solve, or actually my mind is actually looking down at my phone and all these emails and texts. No, it wasn't just being with someone, it was being present with their partner. It was dating their partner again. It was getting to know the person they were married to again for who they were, not as the spouse, not as the mother, not as the father, not as the daughter, not as, any other titles or things that they did in their lives, but who they were. They prioritized connection. And with that connection, came so much of that juice and that spark and all of those feelings, that they say, I wish we had at the beginning. When you are connected to your partner, when you are making the intention to be connected to your partner, you develop those things over and over and over again throughout your relationship. So connection, they put in connection. They made the point to connect with the person they were married to. The third thing I noticed from hearing these people speak, from them sharing their stories with me, as well as their techniques around mindset and growth and personal development, was how much being a good communicator and being able to develop trust mattered in their marriage, but also in their business. So part of the reason they struggled to maintain that healthy, fulfilling, passionate relationship while growing their career was due to the lack of communication. Not even just with the spouse, but also with everyone back at the office. And that sense of trust as well. The CEOs talk so much about how they were always feeling like they had to work. They always were feeling like they had to be pulled away to something at the office because they didn't trust their team, because they were a part of 1,000 meetings that they didn't need to be a part of, because they had their hands in 1,000 projects that didn't actually need them, but they just couldn't trust their team to handle it. They just couldn't trust the people who were working with them. And they talked about how when they could trust them and when the communication systems got cleared up between people in the office, in the business, that freed up so much of their mental capacity, and it helped them feel so much more at ease. They weren't as stressed, they weren't as anxious as they were. And that had a direct effect on their relationship. They were able to not think about the work all the time. They were able to shut down the anxieties that came up because they trusted their team to have it. They were able to be present with their kids, with their loved ones, because their head wasn't in a different place. Now, it wasn't just the business communication, but of course it was the communication in the marriage as well. Learning how to share their feelings, learning how to share what was coming up for them, what they were struggling with, what they were anxious about, what they were worried about, what pieces they were trying to shut away and hide because they were trying not to make the other person upset or make the other person concerned about them. When they learned how to open up about those things, they connected with their partner in a whole different way. And that's part of what made all the difference in terms of reigniting the flames in a marriage that was on the brink of collapse. And so I think that what I really gathered from this is being able to communicate, being able to trust. It's not just a romantic thing, it's an everything thing. It's an all areas of your life thing. And also part of communication and trust was also keeping their word. If they told their spouses that they were going to be at home at 6, they were then at home at 6. They developed that trust again. They developed that muscle again to have boundaries around their time at the business and boundaries also around their time at home, and being able to really have better time management because of their ability to communicate and because of their ability to keep trust. The fourth thing I noticed, and the fourth thing that frankly I really appreciated people talked about, was the concept of your priorities are what you prioritize. These people got real. They got real with themselves when they looked at their personal lives and realized that they didn't actually know what their kids like to do, and they didn't actually know what their partner's favorite color was anymore, or what they were doing that weekend when they were at the office. They got real with themselves. They noticed that they were prioritizing meetings and business growth and text messages and emails and almost everything else over their relationships. And they gave every reason. They had every excuse in the book as well. I don't have time. I don't have the energy. Or even like, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for our financial security. And the hard truth is that that stuff can be true. That stuff can feel true, right? The feeling of not having time, of not having energy, of doing this for the family. But I do think there's the hard truth of, if you are prioritizing your work, your career, your business day after day, week after week, month after month, and eventually year after year, then really what you're doing is prioritizing something else over your family, over your relationship, over your health, over your relationship with yourself, even. And so they got real with themselves. They decided to readjust. They decided to ask the questions of where am I putting my time? Where am I putting my energy? And what does that mean about my priorities versus what I think my priorities are? They started to change where they put their time and energy and attention. They started to have boundaries around their work. They started to trust their team to take care of things so that they could have boundaries around their work. They started to let go of the things that they could let go of. They started to make time for the things they knew they needed to make time for in order to have the marriage that was healthy and fulfilling, in order to have the relationship with their kids that they wanted to have, in order to have the relationships with their parents that they wanted to have, their other family. They started to make a point to do those things. And I think that makes a massive difference. I think realizing and realigning your priorities makes all the difference. And I want to add in my own 2 cents around this. My own 2 cents is that life comes in seasons, and there are seasons where you put more time towards work, and there are more seasons where you put more time towards family and more times towards health. If your life isn't operating in that way, if your life really is operating in, I'm low-key a bit of a workaholic, then you've got to notice that that's what you're prioritizing, even if it's hard. It's a hard truth, I think, sometimes, but it's still true. Your family experiences it as true. Your kids experience it as true. Your wife, your husband experiences it as true, if that's what you're doing, even if the overarching goal is generational wealth or providing for your family. The last thing I want to share here was a statistic, actually. And the statistic was around mountain climbers. And this is the fifth and the final thing I'm going to share about the conference, about these people who are incredible leaders who really were lovely and built some great things. Some of the wisdom they had to share they have to share with me about their, really making their life all around good, not just in career, but like every aspect of life, was the knowledge that when you're a mountain climber, or a lot of mountain climbing injuries rather, 80% of the injuries when you're mountain climbing, they don't happen on the way up. They happen on the way down. Because people were so focused on getting to the top of the summit that they didn't plan for anything else. They didn't think about getting down. Now, this stood out to me because there are so many stories about people chasing success, about people getting to the top. But then they get to the top of the mountain and they don't know what to do with their lives after that because their only focus was getting to the top. Or they get to the top and they look around and no one is watching the view with them. And it made me really sit and think about how in life, if we have that one goal, we can kind of miss out on so much. And so really, the wisdom I have to share around this, and the wisdom that they supported me in sharing around this, is actually, I think it's okay to have a goal. I think it's okay to want to get to a top of a mountain. I know myself. I know I have plenty of mountains that I want to climb. But I think part of getting to the top of the mountain is also thinking to yourself, who do I want to walk with along the way? Who do I want to enjoy the view with? And what is my greater meaning outside of this goal? What is my greater meaning outside of looking at this particular view? And how can I keep that in my mind, in my heart, in my being, and in a practical sense in my day-to-day life, so that when I get to the top of the mountain, I have people to enjoy the view with. And as I descend the mountain and maybe go up another mountain, I keep myself along the way. So that's where I'm going to leave you. That's where I'm going to leave you today. And I hope that this was helpful, especially for my people out there who are really career driven, who really are building something for themselves, and who maybe have some of the thoughts of, I can't have both. Like, I can't have career and the relationship. And I want to tell you that despite the things I talked about today, you absolutely can. And I actually think this podcast is in support of that. This episode is in support of that. These are the things to keep in mind so that you can have both. Because I witnessed, again, like there were people in there making millions of dollars. There are people in there that have an amount of money that I can't comprehend. I'll be honest with you. And they don't just have that. They have the relationships, and they have the health, and they have everything else. And they have that because they prioritized it and they worked for it. And I think that we can have a lot of what we want, so long as we're clear about what we want, and so long as we're willing to do the work and put in the time, energy, and effort to keep it going. And so, yeah, this kind of feels like a little, I'll be honest, like this feels like a little weird podcast to me today. Because I don't think I talk about career a lot. I don't think I talk a lot about success. I talk about shifting your story so that you can have whatever success it is that you want. But I don't think I talk really practically about the fact that I am a business owner, and that I do have this side of me, and that I am incredibly driven, and I have a lot of plans, I have a lot of dreams of what I want to do, and a lot of ways that I'm going to make them happen. But it feels sometimes a little weird to talk about, if I'm being very completely honest, because it's just not what I talk about. I talk about relationships, and I talk about healing, and I talk about your relationship with yourself, and yes, personal development, but very much from a mindset, emotional intelligence standpoint, not so much from the career standpoint or the money standpoint. And so this felt like a little bit of a weird podcast to do today, but I also think it was so helpful for me in my life, and I hope that it was helpful for you in yours, and I hope it gives you some things to think about as you're chasing your dreams, whatever those dreams may be. So thank you so much for listening. I will see you again in a couple weeks' time with the next episode. And I have like a soft announcement. I think that I might be moving these to weekly. So if you would like that, if you'd like me in your ears weekly, do me a favor, leave a review, let me know, send me a message on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever you're listening to me from, wherever you're finding me, and let me know if that's something you'd like, because I think people are enjoying this. I looked at the analytics, and quite a few of you are listening. And so please let me know if you're feeling good with the pacing of the bi-weekly, or if you'd like me to kick it up a little bit and you'd like to have me in your back pocket on the weekly. You let me know. All right, everybody, I am going to leave it there. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to engaging with you guys on the social medias, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.
So make whatever change you need to make.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If something resonated with you in today's episode, if you could leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps other people learn what we're all about here at Shift Your Story, and it helps this podcast reach listeners who may need to hear what it is that we have to say. If you would like to connect with me or work with me, you can visit my website at www.shiftyourstory.net. You can also find all of my socials on there so you can connect with me in the way that works best for you. I'll see you next time.